Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Unstuck series with myself, Sarah Archer. I have to apologise, I'm full of cold, so I'm hoping that my voice is going to last for the session today. So I hope wherever you are really well. And you're very welcome here. If you are watching me live, which hopefully somebody is out there watching me, please do say hello and put a little hello in the comments or a little wave. And if you're watching on replay, which I know a lot of people do, then you're very welcome too. And if you've got questions on today's topic, please do ask away. I will either come back and answer them at the end, or if you're watching on replay, if you tag me, I will come back and answer your question. So the Get Unstuck series is every 2 weeks. I run a 15-minute live on a leadership or career advancement topic. And I know from being a senior leader that it's very hard to find 15 minutes in your week to think about leadership topics or career advancement. So hopefully this gives you a little window, a little space to just think about what's going on for you at the moment and what you need. And today's topic is super, super relevant as well to you having career success as a leader. Today, we're talking about influence blockers and how they get in the way of you really having the kind of impact that you want to. And I chose this topic because it's something that comes up a lot with the senior women that I coach on a regular basis. And so I thought it would be a useful topic just to help increase awareness for what might be getting in your way when it comes to you having the influence and the impact that you want. Because with all of these things, awareness is always the starting point. And if we can increase awareness, we can then examine what's going on, and then we can make some changes to release those blockers and generate the influence and impact that we know that we're capable of having, but sometimes we're kind of getting in our own way. And what I've noticed from the work that I've done with senior women over the last 16 years I've been a coach, is that these blockers tend to fall into 4 categories, and they are internal confidence and identity, communication and presence, strategic positioning, and environment and power dynamics. And what I'd encourage you to do is, as I'm talking each of those areas through, is just do a little bit of reflection on where you think your blockers are showing up, because that will just help you then decide what you need to do to make some changes around those blockers. And some of those changes you might be able to make yourself, some you might want to work with a coach to do that. And that's the work I do with my clients, is to actually unblock those areas that are tripping them up. So the first area is internal confidence and identity. Now, this isn't confidence about your ability, your capability as a leader, because the women I work with are really good at what they do. But this is about how you see yourself as a leader and how that comes across in the settings in which you're operating. And you might recognize you've got a blocker here if you still find yourself questioning yourself in some senior conversations. Maybe you're overthinking it, or afterwards you're playing it over and over again in your head, or you're second guessing yourself. Or it might be that you still feel you need to prove yourself, that you still have got to kind of show that capability and that confidence. Or maybe you're holding back your opinions because you're fearing judgment, or you're not trusting yourself in some of those kind of high stakes situations or those meetings where you've got to think on your feet. So the challenge here is that if you don't own fully your leadership identity and have the confidence in that, then other people are not going to see that either. They're not going to see you coming across as that confident leader. And the cost is that you then tend to stay quieter, you play it a bit more safe, and your influence therefore stays smaller than it could be. So that's our first one: identity and confidence, internal confidence. The second blocker is communication and presence. And this is how you show up when you speak. So again, you might recognize this as a blocker if you find yourself perhaps softening your messaging to make it more palatable, to kind of be liked as well as having impact. If you find yourself over explaining what you're trying to communicate, if you don't speak early in meetings, if you find yourself holding yourself back in meetings, if you struggle to articulate your value, or you're just not feeling comfortable holding the floor, speaking, thinking on your feet. Excuse me. So that could be a blocker if you find that you are sorry, I've just been thrown because I've had a message saying this might not be streamed on LinkedIn. So I'm going to carry on because it's streamed on YouTube, and then I will have to do it again for LinkedIn if that is the case, if it's not going through. Okay, so where was I? Yes, so the cost basically is that because influence isn't just what you say, it's about how you say it, it's about the weight that your words carry, that you might be being listened to, but you're not really seen as a key voice. And that's obviously damaging to your impact. Our third blocker is strategic positioning. And I did a live on this probably about a month ago or so, which is about moving from operational to strategic thinking. So that could be something to go back and watch if you feel that this is something that is kind of key for you. And it can be a big promotion blocker if you're not able to make that leap to bridge that gap between operational and strategic thinking. So you'll know this is a blocker for you if you find yourself focusing on delivery rather than strategy, if you know that that's your comfort zone, if you don't find yourself talking about your broader impact beyond the immediate work that you're doing, if you find yourself you're waiting to be noticed or you're not being sought out by senior leaders for your perspective, if you're not actively positioning yourself for that next level, or you're not taking that radical responsibility where you're thinking about the broader impact across the business and how you could solve problems across the business, then this could be a blocker for you because you fall into that trap of thinking, I've just got to work harder, rather than people seeing you as operating at that next level already and being viewed as that strategic partner. So the cost is obviously you become known for excellent delivery, excellent work, but you're not being invited to those bigger conversations, not being seen as somebody who's ready for that stretch level. And our fourth blocker is environment and power dynamics. And this is where you struggle to maybe navigate some of those dominant personalities in your peer group or in the leadership team. You are not always getting credit for the work that you do. You find yourself feeling challenged if you are being interrupted in meetings or talked over. You find that quite hard to manage. Or you know that navigating organizational politics is a big challenge for you. Now, influence obviously isn't just internal, it is also about how you operate in the environment that you're in, and you can't control the environment, you can't control the culture, you can only control how you respond to it. So being able to influence within that power dynamic, within that organizational culture that you're already in, is key to you being seen as a leader to have impact and influence. And the cost, obviously, if you can't do that or you find it challenging, is that you start to feel invisible and that your voice carries less authority. And this can be particularly challenging if you're working in a male-dominated environment. It can be much harder to feel that you are able to navigate those power dynamics in that environment. So what are the consequences of not addressing the power blockers? Well, obviously, if you don't address them, then you can find yourself, there's three things that can happen. You can find yourself stuck somewhere longer than you really want to be, not because of your capability, but because you're not being seen as a strategic partner, as somebody who's ready for promotion, as someone who's ready to take on those bigger projects. The second thing can be that less capable people can start to overtake you, to move past you, to be given those opportunities that you know you're really capable of, because they're positioning themselves differently, and they are either have managed those blockers, or they are, you know, being able to kind of move past them effectively. And the most damaging one of all, the most damaging consequence of all, is that you start to doubt yourself, because you start to question, am I ready? When it's actually the blockers that are holding you back, not your capability. So the good news is, because the blockers are patterns, patterns can be broken, patterns can be changed. And the first thing, as I said, is that kind of key to identification and awareness of those blockers. So it would be great if you can identify, from what I've just talked you through, which of those blockers are the most pertinent for you. So is it internal confidence and identity? Is it communication and presence? Is it strategic positioning? Is it environment and power dynamics? Because then you can start to make changes. And if this is something that you want help and support with, then you can just message me and we can have a conversation about what the work involves to get rid of those blockers, so you can transform your impact and influence, and you can get the career advancement that you know that you are really capable of. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. I hope that you have managed to identify perhaps where your blockers are sitting, and you can go and do a bit more reflective practice around what's really getting in the way for you within that category. And do get in touch if you feel you would like some help and support on this area.